This Michael Gurian acoustic cutaway guitar is in for a neck reset. Once I explained to the customer exactly how this neck works, the mechanics of it and the physics of it, he insisted that he wanted it done exactly like Michael Gurian did it, with these ebony pins. I'm going to give you a couple of angles on this so you can see. These pins correspond to those holes in the tenon, and they pull the neck in tight. I needed to fill that lower hole solid with maple, and then re-drilled it and reamed it out with a reamer to match the taper of the pin. I adjusted this peg shaver to shave down this ebony pin for a perfect match for the reamer. This is basically just spruce 2x4. I drilled through that. After reaming it out with the reamer, I pushed the peg into place, and it felt pretty good. It was a good fit. Just to make sure it was a good, solid 100% press fit, I cut the 2x4 in half to expose the tapered hole. As you can see, when I push that pin in, we get a beautiful press tapered fit. Now we're ready to take these ebony pins and pin the mortise back in place for the perfect neck to body edge. Japanese saw, and that now allows this fingerboard to flex ever so slightly, so that when we glue it down, it's not going to have the resistance at that top of the tenon. And the result? A perfect fit. The entire fingerboard extension and the tenon itself. We've kind of got a three-way split here. I've got some carnauba wax. I'm going to wax those ebony pins that I turned, those tapered pins that hold the neck in place mechanically. The tenon and mortise will have a light slurry of hide glue that I'm just heating up there. And then the fingerboard extension, this area here and the underside of the fingerboard, will have the regular carpenter's glue. Doing a little bit of a dance to kind of make it all happen, but I've done my dry run multiple times, and this neck is going back into position. Everything's done. Neck angle, fingerboard extension. We've just bought this guy like another 30 years. Okay, here is the gluing setup. I've got my gluing caul over the fingerboard extension, got a couple of clamps on there. Pull that down nice and tight, and we've scooped up all the extra glue. On the end, I've got a couple of tongue depressors on either side. There's a little slip of honey locust that's glued across the edge of that sound hole because there was a slight crack on this side. It's just something that happened over time with the downward tension of the fingerboard onto the soundboard. This is our ebony dowel, so that's kind of pressed into place, and that pulls the heel in tight. The hole through the tenon and mortise is just slightly off center. The ebony dowel itself was wiped down with carnauba wax, like a floor wax. After this whole neck joint sets, I'll pull that out, cut it flush, push it back into place, and that is where the strap button goes on the underside of the cutaway there. Pretty ingenious, actually, the sort of mechanical function of this joint. It's a bit of a pain to do a neck reset, but it is quite solid and quite ingenious. Bravo, Michael Gurian.